Hi everyone and welcome back to my channel. My name is Vanissia, this is the Woolly Worker Knitting Podcast, and today I am joining you for my winter plan special video. It feels like not too long ago I made my autumn plan knitting video and it was really fun, and I feel like I did a pretty good job at sticking to them. I obviously didn't do all of them, even though I actually did believe I would, but I didn't. But I'm really happy with the fact that it helped me keep on track and focused, and it was nice to rediscover my stash and mostly knit from stash. I did buy some yarn during the autumn, but then I didn't immediately cast it on, so I was still using older stash, which is good to keep the rotation going. And I thought that I would take those lessons from the autumn plans and take what I liked in my winter plans. And yeah, so here's this video coming to you now. I'll also be using this video as a way to update you on the 12-hour charity live stream. If you have no idea what I'm talking about, I talked about this in my previous podcast episode, which you can find here. But basically I'll be hosting a 12-hour marathon knitting on the 2nd of January to celebrate my podcast anniversary. And yeah, there's been a few events and guests and sponsors, so I want to just update you on that at the end of the video. Every timestamp will be below, as will patterns, the Ravelry bundle containing all of those patterns, yarn color names. I'll be showing a lot of yarn on screen because I have a lot of, all my plans I have stash yarn for, so I'll be showing you exactly what I plan to cast on. And then if you want to find me on Ravelry, Instagram and Ko-Fi, all the links are here below. And if you want, you can also join the Discord, because we now have a Discord server for the podcast. And little spoiler alert, there's a knit along that will be hosted there, and the details for that will be in this video as well. So that was a bit of a disjointed way of explaining the structure of this video and doing an introduction. I hope that made sense and you're still with me. But yeah, the structure of this video, like I said, I'll first talk about a bit of the background for my winter plans. That'll be quite short. Then I'll talk about, I think, 11 garment patterns, a couple of accessories, and I'll make sure to say whether those plans are like really definitely gonna happen and which ones are a maybe if we have time or if we feel like it. But I've tried to be as realistic as possible, and my aim is to really try and do as many of those plans as possible. It's not just like an inspiration, it's like an actual list, to-do list for me. That's how I work best. And then after I mention those patterns, I will then give the details of the knit along, and then I will talk about those charity live stream updates. So I hope that you stay for everything, but if not, I hope that you enjoy the parts that you'll watch. And yeah, let's get started. So a bit of background, like I started saying at the beginning of the video, the autumn plans went well, and I'm really happy with the new garments I've made. I didn't finish all of them, some of them are still cast on, and I probably will work on them every now and then, but I am really excited to cast on the winter ones because it's been getting so cold over here in Scotland and I just really want some warm things. The autumn plans had a lot of vests, but there will not be any vests in this, I don't think. I really just want sweaters and woolly accessories. We'll be using stash for everything. There's quite a lot of alpaca, like Surrey and lace alpaca, used as a second strand. Not really a lot of mohair, just one quantity of mohair, and just like a lot of color work actually, and some cables and some stockinette. I really wanted to have a variety, and I felt like towards the end of the autumn a lot of the plants had texture or things going on, and I was craving just simple stockinette. Some of the projects that I will mention here I've already actually casted on, so I'll also show a bit of that. And in terms of colours, I've really been leaning into seasonality, and I have been craving knitting with blues and greys. Blue and greys are my favourite colours. Grey is my favourite neutral, blue is my favourite colour. And red actually also is one of my favourite colours. I've been always craving the perfect shade of red, finding a true red that I think suits me and also that I like. It's quite tricky, especially when you're buying yarn online. So yeah, those will be the colours that you will see here for sure. And I'm really happy. Winter is definitely my favourite seasonal colour palette. It was really fun doing some mini knit alongs in autumn with some of the plans, but this time I've just decided to organise one knit along, and it'll be for a pattern that I will mention briefly, and it will be hosted with another podcaster, which also will be a guest on the podcast. That's super exciting. So in terms of what you can expect from this list, I think that there's going to be, in the definite column, there will be 1 cardigan, 6 jumpers, 1 hat and 1 pair of socks. And then in the maybes, there will be one additional cardigan, an additional color work, hat and mitts, and then 3 additional sweaters, and then maybe also 1 sock. So yeah, I think it is a lot, but I just really couldn't whittle it down. My original Ravelry bundle, I think, had over 25 or 30 patterns, so the fact that you're only getting 15 today is an achievement. Okay, so let's just get straight into it. So the first cardigan pattern is the Calm Down cardigan by Lily Kate France, or Lily Kate Makes, I think, on Instagram. It's a cardigan I've had my eyes on ever since she started talking about the pattern. I think it's how I discovered her actually as a designer, even though she's a really prolific and established UK-based designer. I think she released a test call on Instagram and that went quite viral, and I applied for it, and obviously she received hundreds of applications and I wasn't selected, but I just knew that I was gonna want to make it. It's an oversized cardigan with a double knit button band. It's really nice. It's got 3 buttons and a v-neck, as opposed to like the v-neck and the 4 buttons, so the bottom of it kind of flares out like little curtains. I really like that, and I think it'll be nice for like sitting down and things. Like it's kind of like a split hem, it will have that same effect. And then I really like the fact that it's got a saddle shoulder that's like a rib detail. I think that works really well with the double knit button band. I really like the way that the lines of the pattern kind of all go in different directions. So you've got like the saddle shoulder horizontal line, the v-neck who's slanted, and then like the rib who's vertical. I really like that visually. And I adored her original version in a light grey, but I've been thinking that if I listened to myself, I would only knit with grey, especially for cardigans. I don't know why, but a lot of my favourite cardigans are in grey. So I thought I'd preemptively choose a colour that, like, I would just set that in stone, and so that I would make sure over the few more years I would have like 1 cardigan of each, sort of. And so what I really was seeing this cardigan in was a navy, which is the fibre company Ironmore Light, which is like this. It is a woolen spun DK, I want to say 80% wool, 10% silk, 10% cashmere, and it's 300 meters per 100 grams, so it's kind of more of a sport way, but it is supposed to like plump up when you wash it. Am I saying something stupid? I think it is kind of a sport way yardage, but yeah, because it's woolen spun, that's usually what happens. You get more meterage, same as the original sample here used the BC Garn Loch Lomond, but I really wanted to use this yarn, which was a little pricey, but it is really stunning. It's got some reds in the tweed and some light blue, and I really like it. The only problem I'm having with this is that I cannot mid-gauge. So I've already swatched a couple of times, and here's my swatch, and I'm still not on gauge, and I've already gone down a couple needle sizes, so I'm going to need to go down even further, and I'm really scared at this point to destroy the integrity of the fabric and have it be too dense, although we still have some room. It's quite drapey already. I'm just worried about if I go down so many needle sizes for the body, I'm going to have to go down so many needle sizes for the double knit button band and the rib, and I don't know if the row gauge is going to match. I'm also planning to use a needle size smaller for the wrong side of the fabric for the cardigan to avoid rowing out, which I found I was rowing out a lot with woolen spun yarns. But yeah, I think I'll just try harder, gauge swatch one more time, because I really have this vision of this cardigan and I don't want to compromise. But if not, I think I'll just do a size extra small instead of small with the needle size that I got here. So yeah, I think that was quite a lot. So let's just move on to the next cardigan, which is a maybe, and it is the Eva cardigan by Petite Knit. I really wanted to make it when it came out, but I had just so many other things in the pipeline, but I always kept it in the back of my mind. I really like her navy version, of course, but because I knew I was going to have this calm down cardigan in navy, I thought I'd choose a different color. And when I was looking at projects on Ravelry and on Instagram, I always found myself being more attracted to the darker shades of Eva cardigans as opposed to like the lighter ones. So I decided to go for like a very wearable color, which in my mind is grey, but I thought I'd go for a very dark grey, if not black, like a charcoal was what I was looking for. And BC Garn actually very kindly sent me some yarn to try out, because I've really been loving their Loch Lomond and I've been wanting to try their Semilla Pura, so that's what they sent me. So this is gifted yarn, and they had originally sent me some alpaca to go with it, but I changed my mind. The alpaca was black and I decided to hold it with a dark grey alpaca instead. So I actually put an order in Holst Garn recently, and I bought a great quantity of their Titicaca, which is a lace alpaca. So here's the BC Garn Simula Pura, which is huge. It's a really big skein. I only have 3 of them, and that's all I need, because one skein is 350 meters. And here's Holst Garn Titicaca in the colorway Slate Grey. And this is the color 6. And yeah, I think that they'll go really well together. I'm really curious to see how this barber pole black and grey yarn knits up as a fabric. And I'm really looking forward to having the Eva cardigan because it has a contiguous shoulder construction, which is actually what this Lyon sweater has, which, you know, is kind of horizontal here, and then it looks like a set-in sleeve. There's not too much bulk well, this is an oversized one, but there's not too much bulk here, and it's still fitted at the shoulder, which I think is really, really flattering for pretty much everybody's body shape, to be honest. And yeah, it's just really well fitted, but also has a lot of ease, which I know sounds not controversial, contradictory, but yeah, I really wanted to use something else than the Cardigans because I know that I don't love that yarn for myself, and I just thought it'd be fun to play around with like a second strand, and Titicaca is really not expensive at all, so I only needed to buy 3 skeins of that because it's, I want to say 400 meters? Yeah, per 50 grams. So I'll probably be gauge swatching for that. I realistically think I can only make one of the 2 cardigans, so I think I'm going to swatch for that and re-swatch for the Loch Lomond, for the Calm Down cardigan, and then if I can meet gauge for the Calm Down, I'll do the Calm Down, and then if I can't, I might just do the Eva because I usually meet gauge all the time with petite knits patterns. But yeah, I think they're both similar in the sense that they're oversized v-necks, but the shoulder construction is different, the color will be different, and I think the Eva will be a bit more cropped, and then the Calm Down will be very long, and I'm really, really looking forward to having these. If I don't make them this winter, I'll probably make them like in spring, because I've had the yarn for a while, the blue one, and yeah, that one is really my favorite. So yeah, I think that's it for cardigans. Let's move on to sweaters. So the next thing that I really want to do is color work, because I've started one of the winter plans here, which is the Holly sweater by Knitting for Olive. And I've started this, you may have seen it in the previous podcast episode, I'll show you where I'm at so far. So I've made a lot of progress, I have finished the yoke, and I'm now at the body. So yeah, it's going really well. This will be the perfect jumper to have for Christmas, which is my aim, and hopefully a bit before that in December, but who knows. And the color work was quite tedious and difficult because there were long floats for the green, and then there were also 3-stranded color work for the red. So it was hard work, but it was also not that much color work. Like, it really, I don't know if I would even call this a color work jumper because there's only like, 12, 14 rows of it. But it made me crave color work. It made me realize I was really heavily missing it. So a few more projects here on this list will be color work. But this jumper, I can really highly recommend the pattern so far. It is really clear, well written, there's short rows at the back and also under the underarm, which I still don't quite know how this will affect the fit, but I just did them anyway. The yarn I'm using for this is a cone of Woolly Net Merino in white, which also was kindly gifted by Woolly Net for our collaboration earlier this year. So here's the Woolly Net, and then a strand of Camarose Manistral in white, which actually is sparkly, and I can really tell when I'm knitting with it that it is sparkly. Like, you can totally tell the effect, and it's going to be so festive and Christmassy. I'm really glad that I'm doing this. And then I'm using a Woolly Net cone held double for the green, and then also Knitting for Olive Merino in claret for the berries, held double. But I think you've heard about this project from me already, so I probably will just move on to the next one, which is a different colorwork sweater, and it is the Levi Pullover by Sari Nordland. I also really wanted to do it last year when she came out with it. It was in December 2022, and I think I was just kind of waiting for more people to do it because she originally did it with Let Lopi, and I know that this would be way too itchy for me, so I didn't want to do that. But then I actually saw that handmade by Florence. Florence made hers in Filcolana Peruvian Highland wool, and I really, really like that wool. I find it next to skin soft. I like the gauge, I like the fabric. I like the wearability of it and how it doesn't really pill so far. So I also really liked her lowish contrast version as opposed to Sari's very graphic black and white. I like Florence one. So I shamelessly just bought the same colors that she did, and I actually didn't bring that with me, so I'll just put a little photo here of what I intend to use. And yeah, it's just going to be really nice to follow a chart, have my colors already picked out. I don't think it uses 3 stranded color work. I noticed that there are some pearl rows in the color work to kind of bring a texture, which is really, really interesting and I've not done before. I've done corrugated ribbing with like 2 stranded color work, but I haven't used pearls in this use, so I'm excited for that. And I think I will skip the little band of color work at the elbow. I'm actually not a big fan of that, and I think it'll just be annoying, especially if the tension changes quite a lot, like it'll be obvious. But I will keep the color work on the bottom of the sleeve. I think that's really nice, and also on the bottom of the body. So yeah, I think I've already done one of Sari Nordland's color work yokes before, so I like the fit of these. I can even use the sweater I've made as a template for when to stop and split for sleeves, and it'll be hopefully fast because it's an iron gauge. And yeah, I'm really excited for that one. I don't know when I'll cast it on. I think I'd like to do it maybe when I finish the Holly sweater, like as my next color work jumper, if I'm motivated for color work, and then if not, I have some regular stockinette coming in later. There's not that many projects on Ravelry. She also has a sister pattern, which I can't remember the name of, but she released it at about the same time and used the same colors but in a different color work pattern, which I think is quite fun. And yeah, I think it has a funnel neck as well, so you can mix and match and use features of which ones you prefer. The next sweater on the list is the sweater number 15 by My Favorite Things Knitwear. So we're moving away from color work and we're going into textures, and this one is cables. So I featured this sweater on my list of things I really wanted to do in terms of cable jumpers. And as far as all the cabled, heavy cabled, time-consuming, worsted weight patterns I showed, this one was actually one of the easiest cable motifs because it's the same cable all over, so you're cabling on the same row every time, and there's going to be quite a lot of just simple rib rounds, so it shouldn't be too demanding mentally, and definitely no need for a chart at all times. And it's also just a sport waist, so alpaca 1 and alpaca 2 held together is what I intend to do. The original uses Gepard Wild and Soft and Gepard Kit Seta. So here's the yarn I intend to use in my little basket. This is Issegir Alpaca 1 and 2, like I said. I think it's the color 46. No, it's 11 for both. And I think that this will give me a very, very nice and drapey fabric. The alpaca 1 is this lace, and then the alpaca 2 is a 50-50 alpaca wool. And I've made something with this combination before, really, really liked it. I think it'll handle the cables okay. I don't think it's going to be the best for cables if it was anything different, but because those cables are very subdued and simple, and the fabric is very unified, and it's not like a big central cable, smaller ones on the side, like it's just very, it's kind of plain. Even though there's cables, they're the same everywhere, so I think that it's okay if this doesn't have the best stitch definition. I don't know, I think it'll work well, but I'll see if I'm disappointed. I mean, people use mohair all the time with this sweater, which obviously wouldn't normally be that recommended for cables because it might obscure them. So yeah, I think that sometimes rules are meant to be broken. But yeah, this is a beautiful sweater that a lot of people have made, and I think with reason. It has bell sleeves, I think, that may not have decreases, but I know some people have added decreases, which I might or might not do. I quite like this vision of having very big, large bell sleeves and then having like wrist warmers or mitts, because obviously otherwise you get like drafts and you can get your wrists cold. But I think because it's going to be super oversized, it's going to be warm. So yeah, I think I want to do this probably in January, and it might take a while because it's quite a big, large, oversized project. So yeah, I really do want the finished item, and I've been wanting cables for a long time, and I thought that this would be a good one to start with. The next one is a maybe, and that one is the Fern Sweater by Knitting for Olive as well. And that one has been on my list for a while. I was absolutely inspired by Caroline from Caroline's Knits. It was in my 2023 plans, like back in January last year, where she had made that sweater in Knitting for Olive Claret in merino and soft silk mohair. And I love that color combination. I was stunned by it and it looked gorgeous on her, and we have a similar hair color, so I thought that it would suit me too. And my boyfriend actually gifted me this yarn for our anniversary then last year, which is a shame because our anniversary is coming up again in January, and I really would like to have knitted up that sweater before that time comes. Otherwise I feel like he might be a bit annoyed that his gift never got used. So I think I don't know, because that sweater never makes its way to the top of my list, but I really would want to have it done. So here's the bag of goodies and the beautiful colorway. Knitting for Olive is really good at color matching, so when you're looking at the mohair and at the merino, they are quite similar, even though this one I guess is a little more, well, shiny I guess, but that makes sense, doesn't it, because it has silk. But they're really pretty, and I think what I'm definitely going to do is I'm not going to do the rolled neck, I'm going to just do a double folded collar, and I think I'm just going to cast on before that, do the yoke, which has that beautiful lace detail, and then afterwards pick up and do the color. And yeah, I really want the finished sweater, and I just keep on putting it off, so maybe if I set myself the goal of doing it before our anniversary, that would be good. Maybe I'll just cast it on and do the hardest bit first, which is all the setting up, and then like once the lace is set up it should be fairly okay because it's a circular yoke, and it is all over lace though, so it might be time consuming, but I think it'll be okay. And I've seen some photos on Instagram recently of people having made that sweater, and I'd like to use my reds because I've really been into a red phase. So yeah, I welcome your encouragements and motivation. Please help me make this sweater. The next sweater is also a maybe, and it's also because I really like this pattern. I've been wanting it for a while. I finally got the second half of the sweater quantity that I need for it, because the first half has been sitting in stash since summer. But the pattern just never comes up to the top of my list again. There's always something else that comes first, but I want to motivate myself to have it done. It has bubbles on it, which I've just mastered with my holly sweater. So this is the Foxberry sweater by Sari Nordland. I think she also has a Foxberry tee. And yeah, it's just a really beautiful, again, lace, and like I think it's kind of inspired by Japanese lace, and then it has little bubbles, which you could skip. And hers is in this beautiful rusty orange, but I've seen some beautiful versions in blues and greens and teals, and I really wanted to have a perfect teal, and I couldn't quite find what I was looking for, so I trawled on Ravelry, looked for color combos, decided to go for Holst Super Soft and Holst Titicaca, and I knew that maybe if I could find two colors that were slightly different, but they would mix to make the perfect shade I was looking for. So I got some Titicaca Emerald back in summer. It was a gift from my parents when I came to visit for my birthday, and yeah, I thought it was quite green, but I was planning to mix it with a darker blue, teal, to obviously tune down the brightness of this. And so when Holst was having their sale a couple weeks ago, I bought some Super Soft. So this is Holst Super Soft in Kingfisher, which was actually quite hard to find as a shade in UK stores, so that's why I was kind of waiting for Holst, the website, to have their sale so that I could just have my pick of all the colors. So here's what they look like next to each other, and I hope that you can see. Hopefully I'm gonna get, you know, a less dark color than this and a bluer color than this. It's kind of what I'm trying to do, but I guess swatching will only tell. And yeah, I'm curious to see if this works out. I don't know, I was just in my head for so long about the color, and it's just overwhelming when you can pick a first strand and a second strand. The possibilities are endless. People do amazing things with their color mix and matching, sometimes by accident, sometimes they plan it, and I just think, I hope that this is going to turn out okay for me, but I probably will like it either way because I really like blues and greens. It's just that I had this vision for the Foxberry in turquoise, but not too bright, and I don't know. I guess as I'm talking about this now, I'm realizing that I'm having like just maybe feelings, which is maybe why I haven't cast it on. But this is a maybe on the list, and I am really curious to try this combination of yarn and to try the Super Soft, which I have heard either really good things about or really bad things about, interestingly, just because apparently it's not as soft as it claims to be, and it is quite rough to knit with, but I'll be holding it with a second strand, which I hope will help with that. So yeah, that's it for this sweater. So now we're done with all of the textures and color work, and we're going to move on to stockinette sweaters, which we really need that in the list. Otherwise, it's just going to be a lot of work and not a lot of reward. So the first sweater is a sweater I actually don't have yarn for because it is on its way to me. But I'll put a photo here if I get it before... well, I could just put a photo from the website. So the sweater is sweater number 23 by My Favorite Things Knitwear, and it's actually a sweater I've already made, and I think this will be the first time I ever remake a garment for the second time, which I've been wanting to do for a while because obviously like a lot of the sweaters I do end up being my favorite sweater, and then I just say I need more of these in different colors, but I never end up doing it. But I think it's good to like force myself to actually go back and redo a pattern, and this sweater will actually be inspiring the knit along. So I really wanted to make this sweater in red. My original was in this dark blue, and I love it, I adore it. And I know how much yarn it used, which is, I want to say 900 meters or less? 960 meters. So I was able to buy some knitting for Olive in one of their sales recently, and I bought that yardage knowing that I was able to get a sweater from that yardage quantity. So I bought 8 balls of the heavy merino, which I love this yarn so much. Ever since I made my Lakes pullover in just the heavy merino, I just really like that texture. I love the knitting experience, I love how it blocked, I'm liking how it's wearing because it's not peeling so far. And I just knew that I wanted to try more, and they don't have as big a color selection as their merino, but one thing that always stood out to me was the pomegranate shade of heavy merino. And I'm not the only one, because Ichi from Tangerine Knit podcast also ordered some pomegranate from Knitting for Olive, and when we discovered that, we thought it'd be really fun to host a knit along based on pomegranate, so that we could all talk about how much we love the shade of red. So we're going to be hosting the pomegranate knit along, and it'll be hosted on Discord. So I'll tell you more about that at the end of the video. But yeah, the plan is then for me to cast on that sweater as soon as I get the yarn delivered, and it will be ready for the 12-hour knitting live stream in January, and I'll be knitting on that sweater during the stream. The next project on the list is another stockinette sweater, and it is the Sonja sweater by Petite Knit. And it's funny because this one was originally on my list because I wanted a simple, mindless knit that was an easy construction, just drop shoulder, at a big gauge, iron weight, 17 stitches, and I had the yarn for it, which was hand-dyed, and I'm really eager to use my hand-dyed and wear it. And this turned out to not be as simple as I thought. There's a lot of yarn management involved, but I've done all that work now, and I've started the project. So basically I had 3 skeins of hand-dyed, and I split all those 3 skeins in half, wound them up with the ball that I'm holding with, which is also Knitting for Olive heavy merino in the color Pearl Grey. So now I have 6 of these little balls, which is my Surrey hand-dyed, and I just got an email from Crea Bea saying that I got invited into the test knit for her ruse sweater, which is so funny because that means, I guess that's gonna be an additional knitting plan in this video. Okay, so I guess there's another knitted sweater that's gonna make its way into this list, which is the Rue sweater by Crea Bea. That's so funny. Okay, it's fine. It's a colorwork sweater, but I kind of told her that I intended to make my test if I was selected into a unicolor version, so I won't have to do color work, which will be faster, and it's gonna be in blue as well, so it totally fits the theme of my video. But yeah, anyway, back to the Sonja sweater. I made 6 little cakes like that. So this is the Pearl Grey and then the Surrey held together already. And because I wound them together, that hopefully gave it a bit of a twist, because I heard people saying that holding hand-dyed looked different when it was in the round and when it was flat. So I didn't want it to be a big division. I really wanted, I invested a lot of money into this yarn, both of them. And so this sweater is going to be, I really want it to be as perfect as it can be. I don't want to cut corners. So I wanted to alternate skeins and then also be sure that there wasn't going to be a problem at the difference between in the round and flat. So all that to say, I'm really taking all the precautions and not cutting corners. So I've already started to make the back yoke, and I've picked up for a shoulder. So I'll show you basically, this is my big giant gauge swatch. And here's the texture that I'm getting, or the color rather. And aren't you just loving this? Isn't this just absolutely stunning? I feel like it's exactly what I was going for. I really liked her original sample, which as far as I know is not hand dyed, it's just some natural wool and then like a mohair I think she holds it with, or maybe it is just the Hillesvag or Hillholtz. I always think that they're the same brand, but they're not. Anyway, her sample really reminded me of a cloudy, moody sky, which is exactly the weather we're having right now, hence the less than ideal lighting, I imagine it is. But I think this is what I'm getting. It's really moody and grey and beige and green or khaki yellow. It's so amazing. I was hesitating to hold this with the pearl grey or a white base, and I'm so glad I went with the pearl grey, and this is giving me this. So far, even though it was a lot of hassle to mentally figure out how this was going to work, I did all that work, and now it's smooth sailing. The alternating skein isn't that hard. I'm also using a needle size smaller for the pearl rows to avoid rowing out. So I'm really not, like, nothing is off limits. I'm really trying my best for that. Which I hope it doesn't just mean I'll be more disappointed if it doesn't work out and there are problems with it. But I think in an ideal world, I'll just get a sweater that I'm 100% happy with, and it'll be even more rewarding because I tried to get it that way. I don't know. I hope that makes sense. But I'm super chuffed with this and the color. I couldn't have dreamed of a better way of it working up with the hand dyed and the first strand. The next sweater is also just stockinette, but that one is actually really just easy. It's the Sila by Jonah Hietala, and it's made in Sandnesgarn Borsted Alpaca, which is a very fluffy strand, and the gauge is 14 stitches per 10 centimeters. And it's just a really simple raglan. So here's the yarn I'm using. I adore this color. I think this is my favorite color of everything I've ever shown you today. And then here's the sweater so far. So it's just a raglan. I've made the neck double folded and continued, and we're just doing raglan increases, and it's just going really well. Nothing much to say. I guess I'm not picking this up that often because it's more boring than others, but if I just need some plain stockinette that's not an accessory, that's what I'm liking to work on. And if I really wanted to be monogamous on this, I bet I could finish it really quickly, but I'm just enjoying having it on the side. There's some short rows at the back, so the shaping will be great, and I'm not planning to make this too long. I don't have that much yarn because I wanted to keep this economical. And yeah, so really not much to say. I've talked about that on the podcast as well, so I just wanted to put it in this video because it is one of my winter plans. I was waiting for winter to cast on this color, and I'm glad I did because I'm really feeling it. And then the last sweater is a maybe, and it is the Semper sweater v-neck by the Knit Pearl Girl. And here's my little bag of goodies. As you can see, there's some hand-dyed, and then there's some knitting for Olive. So you guys way back when helped me pick. I swatched for this, and you helped me pick between having like a brown first strand or having the olive first strand, and you guys helped me go with the olive in the end, because this is the hand-dyed we're working with, and then this is the olive. So as you can see, I mean, it is quite a good match, honestly, as far as Surrey and hand-dyed goes. Like, I think this is quite a good match, and I'm happy that I went with the olive. I think it makes it less brown and more green, which I prefer green to brown, which is good, obviously. My friend Rebecca, actually, from Journey Through Yarn, is buying the brown skein off of me, so no money wasted. She's gonna get them tomorrow. I'm meeting her for a day out with the gals at the yarn shop. And yeah, so I don't have much yarn. I have 900 meters, so 3 skeins of this, and then 4 skeins of the knitting for Olive. So this is going to be cropped. And I was hesitating between the v-neck and the crew neck, but I really want to try a v-neck. So I've made a couple things from the Knit Pearl Girl before. I know that her instructions can sometimes seem a bit wordy if you're not a beginner, so I'll just try and make sure I'm following along for the v-neck increases. But apart from that, it should be fairly straightforward as far as sweater construction goes, which is also why I wanted to include this in the list to be a palette cleanser or just mindless stockinette, and also, again, to use the hand-dyed, because if I want to keep buying more, I need to prove to myself that I actually knit this up into sweaters. And I've really found myself to like hand-dyed Surrey a lot, maybe more than just like superwash merino, which I don't buy anymore, that kind of hand-dyed. So yeah, that's the plans for the Semper v-neck. I know that the Semper was really popular when it launched as a staple basic, and I think that the v-neck maybe doesn't get as much attention, so that's also why I'd love to add my project onto the Ravelry project pages. Okay, next we'll move on to accessories. So the first thing is beret number 3 by My Favorite Things Knitwear, and surprise, surprise, I have some red yarn for that. And if you don't know about this beret, it's really fun. It's actually a felted beret. So the yarn is Fritted Yarn by Scentless Yarn, which is a really bulky 13 stitch gauge yarn. And you make a beret which will be quite large, and then you put it in the washing machine and felt it, and then it shrinks back to your head circumference. So quite worried about that, really unsure. I don't have a top loading washing machine, it's like front loading, so I don't have that much control over it. But the yarn is inexpensive for 2 balls. I think overall I must have paid, yeah, $5.95 for the 2 skeins. So £6 for a beret experiment. I think I will be okay. In the end, I don't even know why I chose that bright a color. Like, it's even brighter in person. Maybe I'll look like the Little Red Riding Hood from very far away, but I don't know. I just have this thing with red winter accessories that just brings me so much joy, and I just, like, why not? Why not do it if I feel the calling? So I will be making that quite soon, I'm assuming. I think it'll be fun to maybe document it, maybe do an Instagram reel or a short little video just to see the before and after of the felting. So yeah, I think it's more for the fun and the process than for the finished object. The next accessory is a pair of socks that I'm making for my boyfriend for Christmas. I'm doing this with Filcolana Arweta in coral, and I'm holding it double because it's DK socks. And I'm making the Higgis Season socks by Sari Nordland, which I've actually already made for myself, and I wear them all the time, and I just think he's jealous that I have very cozy home socks. So I'm just going to make him a pair for Christmas and hopefully do that in time, because last time I was trying to do something for his birthday and I never ended up finishing that pair. So yeah, this is what I've got so far. It's not that much. I've just made one little cable so far. So trying to do that when he's at work, and yeah, I think it was just funny that once again it was red, even though that was planned for and like the yarn was bought ages ago. I just knew that he was gonna get a pair of cabled socks for Christmas, but it's fun to have all those red things to knit on at the same time. And if I was participating in my knit along with all the red items, I'd definitely win, because like I'm gonna have 10 items, but I'm obviously not eligible. Then the 2 accessories that are a maybe, I'll just quickly get here on my Ravelry because I don't remember their name. There's the Boogie Flower Beanie by Alison Rendell, which was the beanie for the Shetland Wool Week this year, I believe. And I just have some yarn in stash, and I was really craving color work, so I thought it'd be fun to really just try and make use of what I already have, and a beanie like that will be really fast. And the colors I've selected, I saw a beanie very similar, I'll show a photo here, on Ravelry, and I just thought, like, that's perfect, that's exactly right up my alley. So we've got some, like, 3 shades of blue, and then 3 shades of grey and whites. So here's the color palette for that beanie. I thought that that was going to be perfect, and it's going to look very wintry, and if I can get a photo of it in the snow, I'd be a very happy bunny, but we'll see. I originally thought I had a different grey than this called Heron, but I cannot find it anywhere, so thankfully I had this Sheila shade, so I guess that works out. I really didn't want to buy any more yarn for this, I just wanted to use my big stash of Jameson Spinrift, because I really like that yarn, and I think it's really nice to have a little like palette just always ready for times like these. Like, it's just nice to make use of those like 1 balls I've bought here and there. It's not something that I've, you know, went out and bought 40 balls of Jameson. It's just over the last 2 years I've accumulated a lot of Jameson yarn. And then the other color work thing that I might want to do is the Scaries mittens. And this is actually in the same book from Mary Wallen that I made my Burra cowl from, and it uses 90% of the same colors, so I already have all the colors except one, and one of them I don't have enough, so I need to buy another ball of it. And so yeah, I thought it'd be really nice to have those wrist warmers / mittens that really go well harmoniously and color-wise with my Burra cowl that I've been wearing a lot this season. I'm so happy I have that. I thought it looked really nice and cozy and old-fashioned to have those Fair Isle mitts. I thought they could be really fast. I'll just have to make sure I cast on the second one immediately after finishing the first one. But yeah, once I buy that one ball of yarn that I don't have, I'll be casting these on. And yeah, I think it's just, I've been missing color work lately, so that's why I've been having the urge to put some of those color work projects on my list today. And then very, very lastly, my boyfriend gifted me some yarn last Christmas, on Christmas Eve, and it's the signature 4-ply from West Yorkshire Spinner in Hollyberry, and I thought that that was really, really cute. He gifted me another one that I then knitted on Christmas Day, which was nice, and he gifted me this color, like Christmas colorway, so I thought it'd be cute if I knitted that up for this Christmas, and I got the contrasting color as well, which is Cherry Drop. So I was hesitating between a rib or a stockinette sock, and I think I'm just not in the mood to do anything else than stockinette for a sock, so I'll just do a plain stockinette sock with this, and this as a contrast. Probably a fish lip kiss heel as the heel, to avoid disrupting that self-striping pattern, and I'll just make sure to, once again, try and find the right stitch count and the right foot length and leg length. I still haven't found the perfect sock, but I haven't tried really hard in the last few months, so yeah, this is quite a boring item on the list, but I guess I'm putting this out for accountability. Okay, so that's it for the winter plans. Let's talk about the knit-alongs. So like I said, Ichi from Tangerine Knits is going to be one of the guests on the 12-hour knitting live stream on the 2nd of January, and we both love red so much. We both made a red Lolu shawl that I'll show photos here. She made hers at the time of the Chinese New Year last year, and she's also wanting to make a red item for Chinese New Year this year, which I love that she's got this sort of little tradition going. And yeah, I don't have a reason why I'm doing something red this year. I just thought it was funny that we both ordered Pomegranate from Knitting for Olive at the exact same time. So we're calling it the Pomegranate KAL, but of course you're welcome to join with other shades of red, and it of course doesn't have to be Knitting for Olive, but we thought that, you know, if we tell you now that the KAL is going to happen, that gives you enough time to either go stash diving or buy some red yarn, so that you can have it in time for the stream, and then when she comes on, we'll both be knitting on our red item, and it'd be super lovely if you were also joining the stream and knitting on your item, and telling us in the chat, like maybe, obviously, like what shade of red it is, what project it is, and if you're in the Discord, share photos of your whip. So the KAL will be hosted on Discord because Ichi doesn't have Instagram, and we thought it'd be a fun way to just make it a bit fairer, because it's not about using a hashtag or anything, it's just about like one project, one entry, which is personally my preferred way of organizing knit-alongs. I just think it's just like better that way. In terms of rules, you can have existing works in progress, but you must finish the item by the deadline. The deadline will be 11 weeks, just to give you enough time to make a sweater if that's what you intend to do as your entry. So the knit-along will officially close on the 12th of February. And like I said, I'll be picking a winner from the finished object thread on the Discord, and then Ichi will also pick a winner, so there'll be 2 winners, and the prizes are yet to be announced, but hopefully they will be nice and tempting for you. But it's not just about the prizes, everybody's just welcome to join for fun. And you can enter as many times as you want, so if you want to make a hat, a pair of socks, a sweater, do them all, and then 1 photo per entry. You can enter as many items as you wish, and you can also double dip with other knit-alongs that are happening. I know that there's actually another red sweater knit-along hosted by My Ivory Room and I think Strick Yoga on Instagram. So if you want to participate in both of those knit-alongs, you're welcome to. If you never ended up finishing your item from the tomato soup core knit-along, then pick up that whip and enter it. If it's not too orange, we really want red. And yeah, let me know if you have any questions or if you're excited about it. I really am. I love red, and it's just really nice to be knitting on not necessarily the same pattern, but just something of a similar vibe with other people. And I hope that you go and say hi to Ichi on her YouTube channel. She just posted a podcast episode, I think a week ago, so you can hear about her pomegranate saga over there. So that's it for my winter plans, and then now I'll move on to the live stream update, so I really hope that you stick around for that. But if not, then yeah, hope you enjoy the winter plans. What are your winter plans? What are your color schemes and palettes? Are you also into cables and color work for winter? or does that not necessarily affect what projects you end up picking? Do you have a lot of stash you're knitting up, or are you buying new yarn this winter? I've not been buying as much yarn this year as opposed to like the summer. So I mean this season as opposed to last season. Don't know. And I was also wondering if you're knitting new patterns that are coming out, or if you're like getting around to knitting some things you've had in mind for a while. Let me know. I'd love to hear about how we're all differently approaching winter and knitting. It's definitely the season for knitting, so I'm really enjoying it. So yeah, now time for the 12-hour charity knitting live stream. So I will first talk about the knitting guests, podcast guests that will appear. I'll give an update on the magnum opus voting and competition, and then I'll talk about the sponsors and prizes you can expect if you donate and enter the raffle. So firstly, if you don't have any idea what I'm talking about, I'll be hosting the charity knitting live stream, and it'll be 12 hours long. I'll be knitting for most of it, but also just hosting guests. We'll be knitting and chatting. There'll be raffles and giveaways and quizzes and presentations. It'll just be really fun. It'll be very long, so even if you're working, even if you're traveling, hopefully you can maybe catch a break for a half hour and come and say hi. I'd really like to see some familiar faces and names. So yeah, I'll update you then on, and you can see my previous video, and you can also see on Instagram there's like a pinned post with information. So the guests that will be coming, as I said, Ichi will be coming, Tangerine Knits. I've like really recommended her channel before. I've put a little thing on Instagram here with what I like about her podcast, so I'll put that back and I'll do that for the guests because I've mentioned all the guests before, and I recommend all of their channels, and I'm really honored that these women have chosen to spend time with me for a really good cause. So she'll be coming at 6:30 p.m. GMT on the 2nd of January, and we will be doing a knit and chat together, as well as our mini knit along with the Pomegranate KAL. So that's what we will be doing, and I hope that you come and say hi. Then the second guest to be announced is Marlene from Marlene Knits. Of course, you guys had guessed that when I asked on Instagram if you knew who was coming. Everybody was saying Marlene. So I guess I'm really predictable, but yes, she will be coming. She will be coming at 8 p.m. and we will be doing a knit and chat together about probably mental health and knitting, and then we will also be doing a Q&A. So if you guys have any questions for Marlene or me or both of us, leave them down below and I'll take a note of them. But we will also probably both put on our Instagram later, closer to the time, a question box, so you can leave your questions there as well. And yeah, come and say hi to us. Here's also the reasons why I recommend Marlene. I really like her channel, really like her openness, and it'll be really nice to, like, we've had some video calls privately before, so it'll be nice to be on the phone with her again, basically, but live streaming. And then the third guest that I'm announcing today, but there are more, so I will reveal that in the next video. The next one is Rachel from Wool Sea Knitting Podcast, and she'll be coming at 9:30 p.m. GMT again on the 2nd of January. And Rachel will be doing a knit and chat with me, but then she will also be giving a presentation of her choice, and she volunteered for that. I'm not making her. And she says she probably will be doing something about like wool and fibers and sheep, and I think that'll be super interesting because it's the kind of stuff that I wouldn't go seek out to read about, but I would love to listen and somebody talk about that. So if you're interested in that and you want to say hi to Rachel, I highly recommend her channel as well. I love the way that she speaks and talks about her projects, her way of thinking, her planning. I really like how introspective she can be, so I highly recommend her channel, obviously. Yeah, I really hope that you guys can come to stay in the stream for as long as possible with all of those guests and future guests. There's 3 more to be announced, so stay tuned for that. Do you have any guesses as to who are those other 3 people? Let me know. Second update is then the Magnus Opus voting. If you don't know what it is, basically I've compiled a huge list of big Mount Everest, like knits of a lifetime knits, and I was pitting them against each other, and you guys were voting for the most challenging one in 3 different categories. There's blankets, color work, and textures and cables. And so we had 26 patterns, we now have 13, so I've put a new link below where you can thin this down even more, and next week we'll have then the final, where we will really just pick our last choice. So this week is the semi-final, go vote in the link below, and I will also be putting stories up on Instagram like I did this week, and you can vote in both places. It's absolutely allowed. And yeah, make your voice heard, because the pattern who ends up winning in each of those categories, that will be up for the duration of the stream. There'll be one pattern in each category, and donations will be able to vote for which pattern I will do. And if we raise £1,000, I will knit one of them next year. And if we reach £6,000, which I don't even know if that's possible, but if we do reach 6,000, I'll be knitting all of them. So the blanket, the sweater, colorwork sweater, and then the textured sweater. So definitely go have your say if you want to see that content on the channel next year. So the voting will be open for 7 days, and then we'll have the final the week after. I hope that makes sense. As always, if you have any questions about that or it's not clear, let me know. But it's incredible. We've had over 100 votes in the link, and then we've had over 300 votes on Instagram, which is really, really nice. And you guys have had very strong opinions. Some items like easily won over other ones, and then some patterns were like tied all the way to the end. So it's really interesting to see that. And the third update for the stream is sponsors. So I'm extremely humbled by the amazing response I've had from brands, companies, like small businesses. I put myself out there and I emailed people, even though I didn't think many of them would come back to me, but so many businesses came back to me, were really enthusiastic and absolutely willing and generous to offer prizes and discounts for you guys to make this stream more I guess appealing and tempting for you to come and see it, and then obviously to reward you for your generosity, and if you donate then you're entered to win one of those prizes. So I'm really, really thankful to those brands. They're all brands that I've purchased from before, 100%, and I reached out to them. They didn't reach out to me. And also, full disclosure, I didn't receive any money, or I didn't receive any freebies from anybody. I'm not like, this isn't an ad in any way, shape or form. It's just I'm a middleman where I'm telling you what the prize will be if you win. So again, there's quite a lot of sponsors. We have over 10 sponsors, so I'll just reveal 3 today. And I'll reveal more later. So the first sponsor will be John Arbon, and they're offering a 20% discount on their website for the duration of the stream. So not right now, obviously. And the code for that discount will then be given in the stream, in the description. So make sure to tune in and snag the code and go put your order and get a discount, because they don't often do them. It's quite nice. I have their Devonia base that I made a muscle bra hat in that I absolutely love. And I also have their Exmoor sock base, which is really, really good for color work because it's quite toothy and it blooms and blocks really well. So if you're into colorwork socks, highly recommend using that. And they have a lot of other bases as well, like really nice for British breeds, and they're trying to move away from merino and to patron more British breeds. So it's really nice. I really like John Arbon, and they're offering a discount. So that's the first one. Second sponsor is Dystopic Fibre. John is a local dyer here in Glasgow in Scotland. He's been to many shows. I've seen him at like most of these last year, and I've got some hand-dyed yarn from him, which was one of my earliest hand-dyed yarn purchases. He really likes mushrooms. He used to have an Instagram account, but unfortunately there were issues with that and he had to start over in a new Instagram account. So go follow him there. I'll put the username and a link below in the description so you can check him out. Really, really nice colors. He's also trying out some new bases as well. Some of them I think using BFL, which is really nice, and it's good to have a bit of variety for hand dyers, I think. And yeah, so he'll be offering a sock set for a lucky winner, and also I think a discount. Don't know how much yet. So the sock set will be really, really nice to have, because that's probably what he's the most known for, is just like the merino nylon hand-dyed yarn. So yeah, thank you so much, John. I'll put a photo here, obviously, of the kind of stuff you can expect from him, but definitely go follow him on Instagram. He's got a very distinguishable style. And then lastly, the other sponsor is Knitting for Olive. Yes, I can't believe it either. Knitting for Olive has so kindly donated a €70 gift card for their Knitting for Olive webshop to a lucky winner of the raffle. So anybody who enters anybody who donates to the cause on the day, the link will be open for, a couple days before until the end of the stream and a bit after. Anybody who enters, and I keep saying that, anybody who donates, any donation at all, as low as £1 and as high as you want, will then have a chance to be picked as a raffle winner and randomly, and I will then send your details to Knitting for Olive, who will then gift you a €70 gift card, which I think is so amazing. It's easily a sweater quantity, and yeah, I think it's amazing that they cared about this UK cause for Samaritans, and I'm so glad that they replied to me. I felt very honored. And thank you so much for Knitting for Olive. I obviously don't need to hype them up more than I already have, and everybody knows about them. So yeah, I just thought you guys would be as excited as I am that we have some of these amazing sponsors, and there's more to come in the next couple of weeks. So definitely make sure to follow all of these beautiful podcasters and sponsors on Instagram if you want to enrich your feed, and also follow them on YouTube, definitely. All the prizes will be shipped internationally, so that's not a problem. And yeah, most of them will be gifted to a random person who donates. When you are donating, I will then ask you for your email address, which is very important, so that you can then be contacted for the prize. So make sure that you enter your email address if you want to be entered in the giveaway. So thank you so much for listening to these updates. I hope that these all made sense. I hope that you're as excited as I am for the stream. It's definitely a lot of information, a lot of organization to do, but I hope that it's all coherent and not too much to digest, and that you're getting excited for it. I know that I've received some really good feedback so far, so thank you if you've taken the time to say that to me in the last week, and I hope that you keep on interacting with that, sharing the post. That's really, really helpful. Tell your friends and families, and obviously on the day, if you can donate, that's even better, and hopefully I've incentivized you a little bit with those sponsors. And yeah, come and say hi to us and the podcasters on the day, and I will reveal even more next week. And on Instagram, make sure to vote in the link below to eliminate some of the magnum opus sweaters, and make sure to leave questions for Marlene and me for the Q&A portion. I think that's everything. Thank you so much for being here and for listening to this podcast, or my winter plans rather. It's been a bit overwhelming. There's yarn everywhere now, so I will be tidying this up, and I will probably be then reading this email from Crea Bea about the test knit that I'm gonna do. I already have yarn for it. It'll be the fiber company Lore, same as her sample. So yeah, thank you so much for watching. Have a really good rest of your day and your week if you're watching this on Monday, as usual, and I'll see you all in the next podcast episode in 7 days. Bye everyone, take care.